G'day, it's Ron from Ferguson Brothers Rail. Thanks for joining me as we make some pine trees or fir trees. Now there's nothing new here, all these ideas have been borrowed from other YouTubes and other modelers. However, we have done some research and found out that we can make these trees using very easy to find materials. So here in Australia, Bunnings is our main hardware store, and everything apart from the flock and the static grass was purchased from Bunnings. So very affordable, very easy to make. They work fantastic for smaller scales. Our layout is N scale, but these trees will also work in HO. So without further ado, let's jump in and we'll go through our step-by-step guide to making fir or pine trees for your layout.
This is hessian twine, and you'll find it in the garden supply area. It's often used for tying tomatoes to stakes in the veggie garden. We want something fibrous so we can tease it apart. Cody chopped up a huge pile of roughly 50mm lengths, that's about 2 inches. We use 1.5 clusters for each tree, and our standard tree height is around 75mm high, or 3 inches, plus another 20 to 30mm for the stem, or trunk.
I do this job because I'm best at it.
We mostly use 0.9mm wire, also available from garden centres or hardware stores. This is a template for getting even lengths of wire. We also use some smaller and larger trees to add variation to the scenery, but I'd say 90% of the time it's the same size. Holding one end at the centre line, I simply wrap it around a heap of times, then cut all the strands in the centres. Then with pliers, I pinch the centre to get a nice sharp bend. Meanwhile, Cody's separating the twine and preparing it on little pieces of MDF. The MDF cards help him measure the length, and he'll build up a supply of cards while I'm preparing the wire. The fibres should be nicely fluffed out and reasonably even. They tend to stick together when you slide them off the MDF, if you're careful. The wire is pinched at the bend in a vise, and I lay the fluff out between the two legs of the wire. Then I'll let the chuck tighten up on the ends and give them a slow twist. The next step is to trim both ends of the wire. At the top of the tree, it's where your twine starts, and at the bottom, leave enough for the trunk because this will be glued into the layout. I'm using scissors to shape the trees, ensuring they come to a nice point at the top. I make some skinny and some wide. It kind of depends on how well the twine's spread out with the twisting step.
Give it a bit of a spin, just shake off all the stuff and throw some of the longer bits out, and I can just trim the daggy bits off. That's ready for paint.
Now we'll add the flocking. I usually do about 6 at a time and stick them into some foam offcuts. Tip, make sure it's securely buried in the foam. I actually twist them in, otherwise they'll fall out in the next step, which is super annoying. For the leaves, use a mixture of 2 to 4mm static grass with fine turf and some darker foam flocking. I'd probably use 70% flocking and 30% static grass. Woodland Scenic's T46 works well for the darker colour, and then I'll add lighter green or shades of earthy olive brown. I actually mix this up, so I think some different shades of green make the final scene look more organic. Sometimes I'll even chuck in some lighter flocking to represent dying leaves. Tip, keep a second smaller jar aside with a few teaspoons of your final mix. You can refer back to this later if you need to match your original colours. Now we'll paint the trees with dark brown or flat black. I use Rust-Oleum because they still work when not held directly upright, which is useful for getting decent coverage. We'll also use some spray adhesive for the final layer, but the paint will do most of the gluing. Make sure your greenery is in a sieve, ready to go and within easy reach. I spray into my bin to minimise the amount of overspray that goes everywhere. Spray a good wet coverage from all sides and top down, ensuring there's no silver wire visible. You want the flocking to stick on all sides. Sift the flocking mixture over the wet trees, ensuring the very peak of the trees has coverage too. I catch all mine in a plastic tub, which is easy to collect back in the jar. Now give the trees a light spray with some adhesive. This helps lock any loose material together and provides adhesive for lightly sprinkling some lighter coloured flock over the trees. This adds some variation, like light growth. Don't overdo it because the lighter colour really stands out if you add too much. I don't always add this step because I think if the trees are slightly different, they maintain their tree appearance and don't get lost as one big green blob in a forest scene. That may be the look you're going for, so it's all a matter of personal preference. Tip: make sure you clean your spray adhesive by spraying upside down. I also wipe the tip because this stuff isn't cheap and it gums up easily. To plant the trees, I use a nail or skewer to poke a hole. If it's going in something harder like sculptor mould, I'll sometimes use a masonry drill bit. I hold the tree with a small set of pliers, then dip it in undiluted Mod Podge matte. I never use PVC wood glue because it dries shiny. The Mod Podge dries matte, so if any blobs of glue accidentally squeeze out, they're very hard to see when dry. Well, that's it. You don't see the trunks because you can push them right down. If you want visible trunks, you can paint slightly diluted brown acrylic gap filler. The stuff is cheap and mixes nicely with water. We think the variation of flocking adds realism to the forest, and some of the taller ones under the bridge look great too. This scene is part of an epic build that's about 80% complete. If you want to see the final film, please subscribe, then you'll be supporting the channel and can be notified when it's released. It'll contain a range of detailed scenery techniques from mould making the bridge piers through to painting the custom backdrop. I hope to see you there. Happy modelling.